Thank you.
All right, it's 7:30 according to my phone here, so let's start the meeting. Welcome to Zoom, everybody. And the first item on our agenda is review of minutes of the previous meeting on the 23rd. So let's do that. I have one correction to make under the convene meeting paragraph there. It says John Van Is. No E in the last name, so it appears twice. Somehow the E in my last name got dropped, so that correction be made. Otherwise, the minutes look fairly good to me.
Motion to accept the meeting minutes of April the 23rd with the
I'll
correct
second.
name of our chairman as noted.
And I'll second.
We got a second from Mel. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, let's move on. Next item on our agenda is a review of this old business. We have none of that. Next item on our agenda is new business, and we got a guest. Greg is going to be, you want to talk about this, Greg, or how you want to handle this?
Yeah, so just some background information. I made a presentation to the Board of Selectmen at their meeting on Monday night. And that presentation at the request of the first selectman was for an update on the entire streetscape project. So I went back and I reviewed all 4 phases, and it took about a half hour. And I didn't plan on doing that tonight. So I think, I know I asked Diane to send you that package, which I think she did by email.
Yes.
Which you can review and we can discuss if you'd like. But the real purpose of me being on the agenda tonight is to seek your approval for an 824 for phase 5. And I
Okay.
know that the Board of Selectmen did recommend that come to you for approval. I believe you got an email from Ginny with that referral or that recommendation, and Alice is going to pull up phase 5.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Let's concentrate on phase 5.
Yep.
Somebody's playing back material that's interrupting.
Yeah.
That might have been me by accident. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting off.
Sorry, I'm trying to get this up, Greg.
Take your time, Alice.
Good, because I'm having trouble.
I got off, Alice.
Oh, there we go. No, there's somebody else. Is anyone else hearing that?
We're not hearing anything other than you saying I'm having
You.
trouble.
I'm sorry. Let me try this again.
Screen says Zoom, join a meeting or sign in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay, so this is not, this was the agenda for our meeting on Monday. I just talked to them about a lot of things, but we're going to move right through this to the phase 5 conceptual design. So
Great.
if you could just roll down, Alice, to the second or third last page on this presentation.
Sorry. I have the, boy, it's hard with this background sound that somebody's got. Let me just mute everybody for a minute. Oh my goodness. Okay, so here's the streetscape, the planning commission from the first selectman, the approval. It must be my computer doing this. I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, hold on, let me open everybody up. Yep.
You see.
Let's see.
I have to stop sharing for a minute. Sorry, Greg, I'm having trouble here.
Take your time. I've got a glass of wine here.
Oh, that's not it.
I got the picture in front of me.
Hey, Mel, we have a wine tasters. I think it's on Saturday. Is that correct? You're muted.
Where's the wine tasting?
Well, there's the Brookfield Neighbors Club, and it's virtual. We already had one of these. Hey, Alice, you tell me
Greg,
when
I
to stop.
apologize. I'm not able to, for some reason, I can't get the screen up.
All right, well, I got the picture in front of me.
If everyone has a sketch of the Phase 5 conceptual design, I could just talk. If you have that in front of you, I could just talk about it.
I have it.
That's on page 2, right, Greg?
No.
No, it's near the end, actually. It's the sketch.
It's a very short, it's actually a short run that he's doing from
Okay,
the Brookfield Cleaners.
Correct.
right. Okay, got it.
Over to the Greenway.
So let me know if I should start or wait.
Yeah,
How we doing?
I'm not able to get up the screen for you.
Okay, no problem. You guys ready? I'm ready.
Go
I'm
for it.
good.
Okay, so let me talk about Phase 5 before I go to the sketch. The reason why Phase 5 has come about is the Lot SIP program has been opened up for new solicitations. And the deadline to submit an application is May 14th. It got pushed back 1 month because of the virus. And it was decided to submit 2 applications, one for Phase 4, which you already approved an 824 referral over a year ago with federal money. We're now going to try to get state money for that same Phase 4 because there's a lot more money available and there'll be less town funds required. Phase 5 came about back in late last year or early this year. A development project for a grocery store behind the Greenway was presented to the development services team. Tony Lucera came in with his partner, I think Paul Scalzo. They put together a company, and they have they've now secured funding for a project that is going to be coming into wetlands very soon if it hasn't already. I know they got their ZBA approval Monday night for some setback variances, and I believe that was granted Monday night.
Yes.
So what this is a grocery store, some apartments, I think a Starbucks, and parking dedicated for public use for the trail, all east of the Still River Greenway across from Laurel Hill. This consortium of developers have already spent $100,000, and the DOT has approved their driveway cut for this development through the Still River Greenway at Laurel Hill.
Okay.
So when that came about, the question was asked by them, geez, wouldn't it be nice if the town can bring their streetscape from Phase 3 that ends at Old Route 7 to this grocery store? And we said, sure, but there's no grant money available. Well, lo and behold, for a lot of reasons that I won't bore you with unless you want to hear them, that grant money became available in January or February. So now we got the letter of support from the first selectman Monday night. We need this 824 referral. And I'll talk to you now about, there it is. Good job, Alice.
Got it, finally. Sorry.
Why Phase 5 is this scope of work. And it's a very small project. It's only about $550,000 or $600,000. So just to get your bearing, Up is north, and that's on the right is Federal Road and the Still River Greenway Trail to the east of that. And then there's Laurel Hill Road and Old Route 7. So phase 3 is going to be done next summer. And if you look carefully, you'll see a bunch of trees on Old Route 7, as Alice is pointing out. That's phase 3.
Okay,
And phase 3 is going to be putting in a pocket park in front of the old hearth, sidewalk on both sides of Old Route 7. Then it's going to turn north and give us streetscape along Angelo's dry cleaners on Laurel Hill all the way to the end of his property. So that's going in next summer.
okay, good.
Before, the reason why we're only putting sidewalks on town money in phase 5 on the north side, as is shown here color coded, is there's 2 development projects planned on the other side. There is a medical building planned at the corner of Federal Road and Laurel Hill Road, right there. And there are 6 townhomes planned on Old Route 7 from that arrow further south. That
Excuse me,
developer-
Greg, isn't it 12 homes, 6 duplexes?
Oh, is it 12?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, 12.
6 buildings consisting of 2 townhomes apiece.
Good, thank you. Both of those properties are owned by Paul Scalzo. Paul has said that both of those developments will be done probably before we do phase 5. And because the zoning regulations require any development to put their streetscape in, he'll be putting those in either before or while we're going to put the sidewalk in here color coded in yellow. So we call that phase 5.
He'll be
So
funding that. He'll be funding that as part of his cost.
Yes, exactly. And as you can see, there is going to be a beautiful crosswalk in red there, which will be our 3rd crosswalk on Federal Road when this is done. We're putting one in on phase 3. One was put in on phase 2, and one was put in on phase 1 by the Craft Center curve. So this is going to be a continuation of our consistent look in our TCD. And that's basically the story.
Greg, can I
Greg,
just
I have
ask, is the crosswalk going to mean that if there are pedestrians that are approaching it or in it, that the automobiles have to stop?
Yes,
correct?
just like the crosswalk that's now from Pancho and Gringos to the Dunkin' Donuts Plaza, there'll be flashing beacons, there'll be all kinds of signage, and all of those standards are determined by the DOT because it's their road and they set the standard.
Okay.
What happens if traffic gets bigger?
DOT, because it's their road, will have to either put in a light or do whatever they have to do. Now, I will tell you, because that's a good question, Mel, why isn't there a light planned at that intersection right by that crosswalk? And here's the answer, and it's why we did not include it in our project. The answer is that the developer for that grocery store and those apartments and that parking lot and that coffee shop have not done the traffic study that includes that new development. When they do that traffic study, the cost is going to be on them to do any intersection upgrades, which may or may not include a traffic light or turning lanes. So the reason we did, there's 2 reasons why we didn't put it in our scope of work. Number 1, it's on them to do the traffic study, not the town. And number 2, the cost is going to be on him to make all those roadway improvements. We don't want to have the town pay for those roadway improvements. So this is all part of a strategy where we're timing this in a way to make sure the developers are carrying as much of the cost for the development as possible.
That's good to hear.
Greg, do you know when the timeline is for the development on the, the supermarket and the other things that are planned for there?
Well, he just got his ZBA approval 3 days ago. He's going in front of wetlands, I believe, very soon. He tells me that the grocery store franchise has already signed off and approved their funding. And funding is always a big deal with these developers, get borrowing cost or whatever. So I don't know the answer to that, other than they've already spent significant money, and it seems like it's all in place for that to happen as soon as they get through, and get all their approvals. Again, they spent $100,000 to get the state to approve a driveway cut there. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they're serious, and maybe this time it'll actually go through.
Maybe. Now, as you know, there's a lot of projects approved in the TCD, and sometimes they don't happen as quick as we'd like. Look at Brookfield Village. And there's a lot of reasons why things take more time than we'd like. But in this case, what Tony Lucera tells me, and I did speak to him actually this weekend or last Friday, is they are anxious to go in part because of all of the improvements.
Other questions from the commission? Any other questions from the commission for Greg? If not, we'll move on to the 8-24 referral request that we've got from Steve to approve this project or look favorably on the project.
Motion to put forward at 824 referral approval to agree to and recommend the proceeding of the phase 5 of the Brookfield Townscape project, Brookfield Streetscape project.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Got a second from Linda. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. All right. Thank you,
Thank
Greg.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
I think I'm going to stay on your meeting because you're going to get down to something in correspondence that I'm here to answer any questions or give you an update on. So I think I'm going to hang on to your meeting and just listen in.
Well, we just got the correspondence. What we'll do is you just go, your item number B under our correspondence. I'll entertain a motion to move to item 5B.
Motion to amend the agenda to move ahead to item 5B.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we got correspondence from Economic Development Commission about sort of reopening the town, it sounds like.
So can I just give you a little background on why this document was created?
Sure.
So as you know, with the virus, there's been a lot of impacts. I'm stating the obvious here, but starting about a week ago, Steve Dunn said, Greg, I'd like for you to summarize what we can do, what we should do, what can be done to help businesses reopen. So there was just a ton of work that's been going on in webinars and video conferences with all kinds of organizations, pretty much every other day for the past month and a half. So I took the time to summarize the document that I assume you have in front of you.
Yep.
It was presented to the Board of Selectmen. I presented it to them on Monday. I also gave them an update on rather significant developments since that document was dated, which is May 1st. As a result of that meeting, you already may know some of the actions the Board of Selectmen has taken. Most significantly is an emergency declaration that Steve Dunn made to give authority to Fran Lally to allow and permit, with now a special new revised application, the ability for restaurants to provide outdoor seating. Now that's easier said than done. There's a lot of issues regarding means of egress, health code, building code, fire marshal. As you can imagine, pick any restaurant in town that's got a shared parking lot. How do you do that safely? So that new application, and the reason this came about so quickly is if you read the paper, twice last week on the front page were articles about restaurants needing to have outdoor dining to open so that there's proper distance between tables and those kinds of things. On Monday morning before 10 a.m., 3 of Brookfield restaurant owners called town hall saying, how do I go about getting my permit to provide outdoor dining? So all this escalated very quickly over the weekend and this week, and that was a result of a lot of the things we've been doing to help businesses open. And as you read through that document, you'll see a lot of the things that we do in land use, Alice and many others, to just be educated and stay up on all these changes that are coming literally daily from the Hartford or from Washington. We even met with our local bankers, 2 of them, the senior managers at Union Savings Bank and Newtown Bank, to ask, how are you helping Brookfield businesses with federal and state programs that are available? So we got a very good education, and they told us how they are proactively working with Brookfield businesses, for example. So that's the history on that document and where we are, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I don't have any questions. I think it's a good summary, and it's great to see that there is some reopening activity going on.
And we're trying to be safe about doing it, not just rushing in to get the place back open and in business.
Yeah.
Now, when you can get me a haircut, I'll really appreciate it.
There's about 6 of us who want that.
Yeah, right?
In fact,
Not me.
speaking of
Pretty
speaking of haircuts, it's funny you say that. There was on Facebook just yesterday, LB's Barber Shop said, we're opening for business, but only 1 person can come in, and we're only going to have 1 barber, and there's 4 chairs in that place. So I went to Lisa in the health department, and I said, Lisa, is there any reason that LB's Barber Shop couldn't set up a chair outside?
Oh,
Why do you have to be inside for a haircut? If they can have 1 chair outside, he can double his business. And the answer was no. Actually, barber shops have a permit. They have a license, and they are not allowed to cut hair outside.
In public.
So there's a case where we'd like to do something, but we're kind of hamstrung, and she feels she would not provide that exemption. Now, if the governor or Steve Dunn override that, if they could, maybe they could, but that's a case where there's an industry that can do nothing. So, you know, these things are coming up. Something unique is coming up every day, it seems, you know?
Okay. Any other questions for Greg?
So the answer is, John, you won't get your haircut soon.
Well,
Let it grow.
my wife.
I have a
The
question.
bowl again.
I have a question.
For the kids. Go ahead.
Greg,
Yes.
you know how I feel? I questioned this in a previous document about the loans. Is the town going to give loans to the small businesses?
That's not up to me to decide. So when you read that document, one of the last points is what another town has done.
Right.
And what I said to the Board of Selectmen is that the town that did that, I don't think took it from their general fund. Some towns have different structures than Brookfield, for example. For example, the town that did this, they had what's called an economic development zone that had its own board of directors, its own source of funding. And I believe that's how they did it.
Okay.
So I didn't get a warm sense that the Board of Selectmen was going to jump on that as something they would do from the general fund. The other thing that happened since I wrote that letter on May 1st, actually on May 2nd, the governor announced that they are going to be providing unemployment insurance for companies that are solely owned by one individual and may not have a payroll that is recorded or reported to the government. And the reason why that one town was providing loans to small businesses was those small businesses weren't eligible for the PPP program. Now that they're providing unemployment insurance to companies that are owned by one person company, that's a whole new ballgame that opens up funding to help
Yeah.
one company businesses. So, things are moving around every day. And again, to your question, Mel, I didn't think the Board of Selectmen were going to be jumping on this loan idea.
Okay. Thank you for asking asking them.
Yep.
Okay. I guess we're ready to move on the rest of correspondence. Greg, thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate your input.
All right. Thank you all so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you,
Stay
Greg.
safe.
You too.
Bye.
Okay, we're at item number 5. We will move back to item 5A.
Do you need a motion?
Yeah, give me a motion. We'll
Make
do
a
it.
motion to go back to 5A.
There's a second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay. It's the minutes of let's see, that one is zoning commission minutes of April 23rd and inland wetlands 23rd. Okay. Zoning commission, basically on the 23rd, they talked about several things that we approved or sent notes of in a positive manner to them, the accessory apartments and the accessory uses and parking. And pretty much, I didn't see very much else. They have a design review going on now up near Mel's area there. About a
Mhm.
mixed-use building with associated parking. It's going to be general retail first floor with residential dwelling units before.
That's between Newbury and Riverview.
Yeah, and that's, I just started with a design review of that. And it's continuing on. At a public hearing on the Old Route 7 apartments that we gave input on last week or last meeting. So that's about all I saw of significance in the minutes of the zoning folks. Anybody have anything else? If not, I'll move on to the wetlands minutes of the 27th. And pretty much business as usual. The only thing of note to me was the fact that we were tracking a 4-lot subdivision there that was going to be on Obtuse Rocks Road at 45. And now it looks like the owner there has decided to demolish and rebuild his house and only have one house there and not do a 4-lot subdivision. So the
Easier.
Land Wetlands is looking at that right now and they haven't, it's under review. And that's all I saw there that merited any discussion. Any other discussion of it? If not, we'll go to correspondence. Correspondence, we had our memos to zoning commission relative to Old Route 7 and the active adult residential floating zone. I don't think there's any need for a discussion on that. We're now at item number 6, informal discussion. Anybody have any topics to discuss?
Yeah, go to Walmart. You can pick up some clippers for $15.
No. My wife used to do the kids, so. And they didn't look that great, so I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna wait till the barbershop opens. So,
You notice I left that till informal discussion.
right,
We
okay,
appreciate that.
You're welcome.
okay. If not, there's nothing new that relative to the plan of conservation development.
Can I raise the in the informal discussion just the note, if we're going to be possibly having tables outside during this the coronavirus period, why and let's say that it works. I mean, what is there to keep us except for our own zoning and laws to do this, in a broader sense after the crisis is done? Because it's very rare. We don't really have a lot of outdoor eating areas, and they're really nice.
Yeah, I know. We've been.
I could speak to that a little bit.
Hmm.
There's a lot involved in doing this, and it's going to be on a temporary basis, of course, so that, it's as long as the executive orders stay in place.
Right.
And the real sticking point is every single restaurant needs to get a liquor license to serve on a patio. So they will have to get that before they can serve any alcohol. But afterwards, I mean, if it works and it seems as though it's something the town would like and it's reasonable, they could probably do it. But at this point, the real crux is capacity in restaurants is based on, fire ratings, and then also parking. You have to have a certain amount of parking. So,
Exactly. It's easy when the restaurant is quiet, but if you
right.
get to the steady state burn and you don't have a big lawn or grassy area, it's a catch-22. You need the space to offer your patrons a place to park, so they're not walking half a mile away. And
Yeah.
all the things you alluded to as well. The licensing constrictures as well. But clearly it's a catch-22 because you're taking valuable spots that in a normal condition would be occupied by patrons.
Well, thank you for that. Hope we keep it in mind.
Most of the places that have outdoor dining right now, they really only have a few tables. They don't really have very many. I mean.
Yep.
So I don't know whether it's going to be a big winter for them or not. Anyhow, I think we're at Linda's favorite part of the meeting.
Yeah. Motion to adjourn.
Would you?
I second.
Oh, we got a second. Okay.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Have a safe drive home.
Right.
Happy Mother's
Just stay
Day,
safe.
mothers.
Good Mother's Day.
Have a good night, everybody.
Night.
Night, Ralph.
Night, guys.
Good night. Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you, Ralph.
Take care now. Stay well.
Bye-bye.